And we are back on a Wednesday edition of Wake Up Wenatchee Valley, 15th day of August 2018. I'm Dan Kuntz, your host, back at it again. Thanks for starting your day with us here on the NCW Life channel. My good friend and colleague Steve Hare, our news director to my immediate left, with another bucket full of news to get your day going. Kat, as always, in control. And we've already made a new friend today, didn't we?
We
Hank.
did. Hank. Now there's a cool dog.
Yeah. My guest in the second half of the show is Jessica Johnson from SAGE. She's the executive director of SAGE. She's been on the show. They do great work, important work, sobering work, but it's always nice to catch up with Jessica. And they have a new coworker, I guess is the right term.
Service animal.
Yeah, Hank is a service animal, and he kind of is a calming influence on people who are going through terrible things in their lives. And she brought Hank along with her. So
a professional companion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Hank's just a beautiful, wonderful, neat little dog.
Kind of like a lab of some sort.
Yeah,
maybe
a little lab, maybe a little retriever in there. I don't know. We'll ask Jessica.
Yeah,
when she comes in. So, so I'm looking forward to that interview. That's the second part of the show. As I mentioned, Steve has a lot of news to get to. We'll also touch on sports, everything that we usually do on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley, live here from Studio 7 in downtown Wenatchee. Once again, as you see behind Steve's shoulder, we're dealing with another day of blucky, clucky, hazy, smoky skies, very poor air quality. Once we get through our cameras around the valley, courtesy of Localtel Sky-Fi high-speed wireless, we're going to get to the grass. We got 5 of them to show you to talk about the air quality. And you went to downtown Wenatchee yesterday afternoon and talked to some folks about how, I mean, who's kidding who? This affects everybody.
Well, it does.
Yeah.
Absolutely. A lot of smoke masks.
Yeah.
You see downtown, folks walking around with those and protecting their lungs. But it's affecting business downtown. Talked to Marcy Collins at Collins Fashions. Also talked to Alan Larson over at Firehouse Pet Shop, which is offering some special discounts right now for you dog owners. It's a discount on the baths they have down there because, hey, as we learn, pets are just as vulnerable to the smoke as humans are, so watch out for them.
Maybe it's indicative of what's going on is after I got out of work yesterday, after another hard day of just slaving away at making quality television, I had a bunch of errands to run, and most of it was zipping along Worthen and Riverside Drive. I was pretty close to the water, and the parks were abandoned. There was just, very few people out and about in the parks.
And you'd think that with a lowered visibility, it might have some impact on flights out of Pangbourne, but got word from Trent Moyer yesterday that things are going just fine up there.
That's good.
No cancellations, no delays for the Horizon Air flights to SeaTac.
You mentioned cancellations and delays. Most outdoor activities that require any kind of cardiovascular is certainly going to be canceled, including those that don't involve cardiovascular. Specifically, yesterday on my show, we had our friends from the Women's Service League of North Central Washington who are going to have their big wing ding tonight at Lisa B's, kind of a kickoff party, get some new members. That's been postponed because of the weather.
Grant County Fair, though, is still going on.
Yeah, the smoke really isn't as bad out of Moses Lake. It's hovering in the not so good, but it's not nearly as bad as it is here. Again, we got some graphs to show you that is quite sobering.
It's downright dangerous.
Yeah,
to be outdoors.
Yeah, it is. It is. That's a good word. You're good.
Wow,
you got the news. Speaking of good. We love our cameras, except days like today. Let's go around the Wenatchee Valley and see what we got.
This is from our Whittier camera, I think, isn't it?
Jeez. Here we go again. The River Thames flows through the heart of downtown London.
It's more like the River Styx this morning.
No doubt. There we go again. Pretty much like it was yesterday. Bad visibility, bad air, hazy, smoky. There's a little bit of wind that's going to come our way Thursday night, but it's not. I talked to Grant. The cold front is really kind of losing its oomph. And although we're going to have a little bit of wind here in the Wenatchee Valley and slightly higher winds in the higher elevations where the fires are, the National Weather Service and the Department of Ecology says it's just not strong enough to knock this stuff out. We're looking at least another 7 days of this. Yeah. Get used to it.
Yeah, the fire managers last night were saying at the Chelan informational meeting that they're expecting the next 7 to 10 days of pretty much unabated fog.
Can't handle this. Camera 2, what do we got, Kat? Kat is in control, and she says, let's pay a visit to, I'm thinking, Omi Garden. Yeah, that's Omi Garden. Rocky Reach Dam is down there somewhere. Now, these can be a little disconcerting because all of these Sky-Fi cameras are high up. That's how the system works. So they're on elevations that are as far up as we can physically get to them for maintenance and things. So it will look worse than it is on the valley floor, but that still looks pretty bad. Somewhere down there is Rocky Reach Dam, humming away. Camera 3. We say hello to, that looks like the Manson Water Tower camera. That is up in beautiful Manson. Eric Grandstrom, happy birthday, and our very own Kat were up in Manson yesterday.
That's right, they were.
They visited our friends at Blueberry Hills. That's a new program coming up. We're kind of teasing a little bit about that. Good morning, Manson. I wonder how this smoke is going to affect the Lake Chelan area. I mean, they rely on tourist money big time.
Well, they do, and certainly it affects it.
Yeah, no doubt about that. We'll do a follow-up on that, by the way. Camera 4, we say hello and good morning. That looks like Nanapoc Ridge to me. And once that's up near the Lake Wenatchee area, you can see where the high-tension power lines go across, delivering electricity all over the state, and that's just blucky, blucky, blucky. Is that even a word?
Well, it is today, and a very descriptive word at that.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. Before we do the weather forecast, I got some graphs for you. This is the latest readings from the Washington State Department of Ecology with their air monitoring stations all over the Pacific Northwest. Puget Sound dealing with some really nasty stuff. And you have to remember, this is all smoke-related stuff, what they call, I forgot the name of it already, but it's all smoke-related. And in the Puget Sound area, they have so many more cars and carbon monoxide going up in the air and everything like that, it makes things even worse. You see the Wenatchee dot right in the middle. Right now, we are at very unhealthy, but Chelan is up to the hazardous level. This is the Wenatchee Valley's latest reading from their ecology station on 5th Street, 5th and Western in Wenatchee. We are at 268. We will climb up into the 300s again today.
How high did we get yesterday?
We were in, well, I'll show you that as a matter of fact. We have a graph of that. There you go. This is the 3-day history of our weather, and you can see where it starts peaking up at about noon 2 days ago. That's Monday. You see that blue bar go sky high, and once it gets into that dark purple, that is the hazardous, and it just stays up at hazardous. And in the overnight hours, it dips down a little bit, and it goes right back up in the day and dips down a little bit. And that is what our 3-day history is for the Wenatchee Valley. Now, Chelan is at hazardous. They got it worse than we do. They're at 327, so they're in the hazardous zone. Again, this is the latest reading. Chelan's is downtown Chelan on Wooden Avenue. So they're already in the hazardous range. And Chelan's 3-day graph, their history looks like this. They had that one little break when the wind came in over the weekend, Steve, and then they've been hanging right between very unhealthy and hazardous for, what, 3.5 days now. And this is the way it is going to be, I'm afraid.
Well, in my visit downtown yesterday, I had a chance to talk to one gentleman and his son. They were visiting here from Germany, and saying that, my goodness, he said, this is bad. He said, we don't get these types of fires where we live, but yeah, terrible situation. Then I talked to a lady from Winthrop who said it's worse down in Wenatchee than it is in Winthrop right now.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised. Yeah. The worst of the worst, believe it or not, is in Plain, and Plain doesn't normally have an air monitoring station. There's not a permanent one there, but they have portable ones, and they can bring those in. And so they've done that in the Plain area, and Plain's air is actually worse than Chelan's right now.
But I guess the beat goes on weather-wise, though, right? Yeah,
let's take a look at the weather forecast from the National Weather Service. Once again, I talked to Grant about this. Because of the smoke and because of the haze, we're not going to get to 96. We had 88 yesterday, and we were supposed to get in the lower 90s. Again, it's keeping with the lid on. Normally, it would get very hot, but the smoke and the haze acts as a filter. So 96, take it with a significant grain of salt. I don't think we're going to get there, but you'll notice still very, very warm, still hazy, still smoky. No rain in the forecast. Let's talk about wind today, none. Tonight, none. Weak cold front begins Thursday afternoon. Thursday night is going to be the strongest winds, but it still ain't much. 8 to 13 mile an hour west wind Thursday night spilling into Friday, and then beginning Friday night all the way through Tuesday, 0 wind at all in the forecast. So this cold front's going to come in Thursday afternoon and Thursday night, Steve. As Grant mentioned to me yesterday, it's really losing its momentum, and it's not going to be able to scour the skies out.
8 o'clock this morning, everybody get out of their house and blow really hard.
That's a good idea.
Towards the east.
Yeah. Or maybe we set up just a bunch of fans somewhere.
There you go,
yeah. It ain't going to happen. I wish I could give you better news on the air quality. We won't. And for tonight's news, by the way, we will do Air Quality Part 3, which is worse than Police Academy Part 3. Trust me on that. 9 minutes after the hour, we're going to take a quick 1-minute break. When we come back, Steve has a bunch of news. Buckle your seatbelts. It's an adult portion, but kids are invited to watch as well. The news in 1 minute brought to you by Cascade Medical. Trained with a physical therapist who loves the outdoors as much as you do. Cascade Medical, partners in your health.
The physical therapists at Cascade Medical love the outdoors as much as you do. But sometimes where there's love, there's also pain. Let us help you get back to the activities that you love. Cascade Medical, partners in your health.
Hey folks, Carrie from Blueberry Hills in Manson, where we've got huge news. We've started our Blueberry U-Pick. It's a great time to toss the family in the car and get on out to Blueberry Hills, where you can get the best down-home scratch country cooking around and pick some of the world's most delicious and largest blueberries that have been high desert farmed. This makes for an intense blueberry flavor, and they are so much fun to pick. Our fields are open 8 to 2:30 daily and restaurant from 8 to 3, so come on out and join us.
And now it's time for your local news update with Steve Hare.
And here are some of the stories we're following this morning on this August 15th, a Wednesday. First of all, somewhere behind that heavy curtain of smoke, over 1,000 firefighters continue their battle to contain the Cougar Creek fire. The fire has scorched over 48 square miles of forest land in the upper Entiat Valley. Light winds and an inversion moderated the fire behavior yesterday. Crews have been able to perform some burnout operations to improve depth on the most vulnerable portions of the fire line, especially that southeastern portion above Ardenvor. Fire behavior analyst Jeff Shelton said there's a lot of unburned fuels yet within the fire's perimeter that will generate a lot more smoke, but ultimately, he says, it'll result in a more fire-resistant forest in the future.
What we like to do is take a confinement and containment strategy, lock off the edge, and in a large part, if we can safely do it, let the fire consume those fuels on the interior and be done with it. One of the other things that does for you is it removes a lot of those fuels. So if we go in and we start getting real aggressive with putting out the fire, we're leaving you stored energy on the ground, and we don't want to do that. Especially in a scenario where you have a lot of dead standing timber, that nature's way of really getting rid of that is a lightning storm coming through and burning it down. Well, we don't want it to take your homes and your property with it, but the healthiest thing for the forest is to have what they call a fire return interval that comes on a regular basis. And what the Forest Service and the land managers do is, if that return interval has been held back because of values at risk, they will try to simulate that by doing thinning and controlled fire when the weather and the scenario dictates, so they can return the forest to a healthy state. And that healthy state is very resilient to fire. And that's what we'd like to do. And so by letting those heavier fuels consume, which are going to be an issue for your air quality, it will create a healthier environment overall afterwards.
Now, firefighters are using favorable weather conditions to prepare holding lines ahead of some winds that are predicted for later today and Thursday. The Cougar Creek fire, currently at over 31,000 acres, still at 5% containment. The lost fire has not grown. That's good news. The Entiat River Road, though, remains closed to all traffic except for local residents. Meanwhile, on another front, the Grass Valley fire in the Cooley Dam area is now 87% contained, with over 75,000 acres of sage and brush burned there. Now, the officials are reporting that evacuations will be lifted on the Grass Valley fire at 8 o'clock this morning, as full containment of the fire is nearing. Started over the weekend with that windstorm threatening homes in the area, but no structures were lost. Also this morning, the shroud of smoke that covers the Wenatchee Valley also impacts business downtown. Regardless, I was out among the folks shopping in the downtown core yesterday, and here's what it looked like. We spoke with some of the... Your name?
Kathleen Chardin.
Where are you from?
Winthrop.
Winthrop. So you're in Wenatchee today?
I just had an appointment. I ran up and I was just going to look around a couple places and head home.
Okay, so obviously you're no stranger to the smoke.
No, I think it's a little smokier here than it is in the Menai Valley right now. I couldn't see across the Columbia coming up, but it is what it is.
How do you cope with it?
Well, we've got a couple businesses. We just do our best.
Store owner Marcy Collins says her business is doing well despite the smoke. As you saw there, she's having a little sidewalk sale. The poor air quality is also causing some health concerns for pet owners. How have you coped with the smoke?
Staying indoors, avoiding any exertion. Otherwise, I get a headache, and you end up with no energy. So that's how the smoke's affecting me.
How about your little friend, your little four-legged friend down here?
This one, he's needs to stay inside as well and not exert much energy, because I think it does affect him. I think it's just a shame that we can't get on top of this.
Now, Alan Larson owns Firehouse Pet Shop in downtown Wenatchee. He said the smoke can certainly cause some health problems for your family pet, especially Fido, and he's offering a special discount to remedy that.
We're running half off our self-wash till further notice, just to help keep the dogs clean, if you will. The smoke is, of course, bad to breathe, but then the pets are also licking and grooming it off of themselves, so they're getting a double whammy in their lungs and as well as their belly. So trying to help keep the pets happy and clean.
Downtown merchants can expect to see more smoke and haze into the foreseeable future, so unfortunately, no relief in sight. Meanwhile, the Crescent Mountain fire is now 23% contained. That fire's blackened about 17,000 acres of forest land in the headwaters of the Twisp River Valley. 685 firefighters are currently deployed on those fire lines. The crews received some encouragement this week when Washington State Public Lands Commissioner Hillary Franz visited base camp.
I'll just say this community is no stranger to fire, as we know, and it's a very close community, a tight community who cares very much about their landscapes and their homes. Across the board, everywhere I go, I am hearing how grateful they are for all the hard work you guys are putting in. I can't say it enough. The number one thing is be safe. Be safe. You guys, your lives, your families are number one, and really want to make sure you guys are taking care of yourself. I know these are long days, long hours with arduous work, and so please take care of yourself, and grateful, absolutely grateful. All of Washington State is, so thank you very much.
Some of the work that's being performed on the Crescent Mountain fire, they're completing the Canyon Ridgeline construction northeast of the fire, uphill of the Twisp River. Finished their contingency lines on Thompson Ridge and Twisp Road. They also want to continue holding and mop up work along War Creek fire line. Continued structure assessment and prep work in the outskirts of Twisp going on. No structures have been damaged. The level 2 evacuation area has been expanded. There are currently no level 3 evacuations in place at the Crescent Mountain fire. A fire about 1.7 miles from the closest home. Also this morning, a Wenatchee man accused of making sexual overtures, soliciting images and sharing photos of himself with a 17-year-old girl is scheduled to appear in court August 22nd. 39-year-old Brian Lynn Wood was arrested last week in an undercover sting operation. Captain Edgar Reinfeld with the Wenatchee Police Department said that investigation has been ongoing since earlier in the spring.
Back in May, a sex offense report was reported by the mother of the eventual victim, and she was reporting incidents that occurred when that victim was still a minor that they had just learned about, though the victim is now 19. So officers followed up and detectives were assigned to work this case, and it was ultimately determined that Mr. Wood had basically a stepchild living in his house back in 2014. And over the course of that time there became a fixation between Mr. Wood and the 14-year-old stepdaughter, sexual fixation that led to viewing of pornography and then a variety of other issues up to and including actual physical sexual assault of that juvenile at the time. Now, nothing was said for several years, but it did come out here, and detectives started working back on the case. As they spoke to this victim, they identified other potential victims that Mr. Wood had been contacting via a kind of a social media and communication site known as Kik that has been seen in the national media having issues with sexual exploitation of minors.
This is where the undercover work kicked in. Reinfeld said one of the victims agreed to let law enforcement use her Instagram account, which enabled them to make that arrest.
At one point, finally, a meet was set up that he did not appear for, but he was under surveillance and was contacted driving and arrested on a traffic stop. So at this point, he's been arrested for aggravated sexual exploitation of a minor and 2 counts of communicating with a minor for immoral purposes. So those are all felonies, and he's been booked into CCRJ on those. A search warrant was conducted at his house where all of his personal electronics were seized, and they're pending forensic evaluation to determine not only to confirm and collect evidence regarding these cases, but to see just how many more victims there may be.
One remains in jail right now, and he's set to make his next court appearance August 22nd. Another rabies-infected bat was found over the weekend, bringing the total now to 9 diseased bats discovered in Chelan County this year. The most recent discovery was near Meadow Sweet Place in Kashmir on August 10th. It's unknown if anyone touched or were exposed to the rabid bat. Chelan Douglas Health District Administrator Barry Kling expresses concerns, though, over the number of bats that have been tested this summer.
Well, I think what's happening is people are just having a lot more encounters with bats this year than in any previous year. We've submitted 60 bats altogether for testing to the state lab, which means for each of those there was some reason to think a human could have had an encounter with it, because the state lab only tests bats with human encounters. And, of course, there are a lot more calls that we get about bats that don't turn out to be considered an exposure to the bat. So it just seems, for reasons that we don't entirely know, there are just more bats in contact with more people this year. The percentage of the tested bats that are rabid isn't very different from what it's been in the past. So it's not like every bat you see has rabies. But rabies is the only infectious disease that's considered universally fatal. So we're very careful with it, and we want to make sure that people don't touch the bats, have contact with them, and that their pets don't, because if your pet gets rabies, then you can too, of course.
And again, you should contact your local health jurisdiction if you or someone you know or any pets come in contact with the bat. Anyone who touches or even has contact with a rabid bat is at risk of getting rabies and should seek immediate medical attention. Washington State Department of Fish and Wildlife Chelan District biologist Dave Volson recently received this image from the trail camera of a bear hunter who wanted to confirm that there are wolverines. Well, Volson confirmed that they are indeed wolverines, and the top animal is a young kit documenting reproduction in Chelan County this year. Volson and other staff are working with the hunter to establish a hare snagging station in the area to retrieve some DNA sample for further documentation of Washington's rare wolverine population. Also, 7 schools in the Wenatchee School District will provide free meals to all students regardless of family or household income starting this fall. Good news, Wenatchee Public Schools Communication Director Diana Haglund said in a news release Monday that the school district is participating in the United States Department of Agriculture's National School Lunch and School Breakfast Program. Now, the CEP, or Community Eligibility Provision, allows schools located in low-income areas to provide free breakfast and lunch to all students. Wenatchee schools included in that program include Columbia Elementary, Lewis and Clark, Lincoln, Mission View, Orchard Middle School, Pioneer Middle School, and Westside High School. Haglund says access to free lunch will provide over 3,300 students nutritious meals for the upcoming school year. The free meals will mean no household application required and less time at the cashier's window. And finally, good news here. 2 former Washington State Apple Blossom Festival Royal Court members have reunited on TV. The festival's Facebook page posting announced yesterday that 1992 Princess Kaylee O'Kelly is back at ABC Channel 15 in Arizona, and she's actually now working for 1980 Princess Anita Helt. Congratulations to these two, huh? So there's life after the Apple Blossom Festival.
63 degrees, smoky and hazy right now in the Wenatchee Valley. Our air quality is very unhealthy, on its way to becoming hazardous. Chelan, your air quality is already hazardous, and as we mentioned at the top of the show, there is no relief in the foreseeable future. We still have that air quality alert. We're going to have to deal with this for quite some time. That's just simply the way it is. We will have all the latest news, whatever made headlines on this Wednesday with Grant Olson on the news at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 10 o'clock. That's so you can watch it here on television, or as we like to say in the business, TV. That's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 10 o'clock. Also available on demand on our website and on our Facebook page, just about 5 o'clock or so. And you can be a part of our news team if you so desire. There are any number of ways for you to get a hold of us. Try to make it as easy as possible. Stephen.
And you've been taking advantage of it, too, and we appreciate it. You can communicate with us via social media on Facebook and Twitter. You can also join the conversation there as well on a number of fronts, because we do link all of our website stories to Facebook. Also, you can contact us at our website, ncwlife.com. Just press the little tab at the top of the page where it says Contact Us. Pretty simple. Also at email, address news@ncwlife.com. That'll make sure it gets to all our reporters here, our whole staff. And then if you have breaking news to report, call us on the hotline, 888-6295.
Sports, the obscure holiday today in history. Birthdays, everybody is entitled to Mike Minardi's opinion, and Jessica Johnson and her friend Hank from Sage. Still coming your way over the next 35 minutes or so. You're watching Wake Up in Wenatchee Valley live this morning from Studio 4 in downtown Wenatchee on the NCW Life channel.
I'm Grant Olson, and you're watching the NCW Life channel.
I'm Eric Grandstrom with NCW Life Sports.
I'm NCW Life News Director Steve Hare.
Catch us on Local Tel Channel 12.
You can watch us on Charter Channel 19 or stream us live on ncwlife.com.
Follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook.
Where we cover the local high schools, the Wenatchee Wild, and the pro teams out of Seattle.
On Saturday, we have a 90% chance of rain.
Catch it all right here on the NCW Life channel.
I have a doctor who knows what they're talking about.
It's just so much more hands-on and friendly than anywhere else I've ever been.
It's really great to walk into somewhere where you feel welcomed and you feel accepted.
We've just been grateful for the care and respect that we've been given there.
And here when I come to visit my doctor, I'm not afraid to ask questions.
It's not just about getting you in and out.
I love my care at CVCH. It's awesome. Give it a try.
Welcome back to Wake Up in Wenatchee Valley. Let's take a look at sports. We're still a couple of weeks away from the beginning of the new school year, but today, for many of the fall sports, it is the first day of practice. Now, the gridiron teams, the teams that normally practice outside, local football teams, they can begin practicing today. The odds are they won't be, at least outside, and we will begin our fall broadcast season August 31st when the Eastmont Wildcats host Wilson on Labor Day Friday. We'll have it right here on the NCW Life channel, getting ready for another year of high school sports. Well, the Apple Sox season is done, but the West Coast League, of course, are now in the playoffs. In fact, they're into the championship series. And Trace Tamaro's 3-run home run highlighted an 8-run inning. Corvallis takes Game 1 of the West Coast League Championship Series from Kelowna. The final was 17-6. That game was at Elk Stadium. The best-of-3 series now shifts to Corvallis for Game 2 tomorrow night at 6:35. Seattle is chasing Oakland for that second and final wild card spot in the American League, and they literally took a hit last night. The Big Maple, James Paxton, got smacked on his throwing arm on a line drive, and that's got to hurt. Now, the x-rays came back. They said there's no broken bones, but they say James Paxton's going to miss at least one start. Felix Hernandez made his first ever appearance out of the bullpen last night. He wasn't bad. He went to 5 2/3 innings. He allowed a 2-run home run. Seattle lost, by the way. The final was 3-2. So Seattle is now 3.5 games behind Oakland for the final wild card spot in the American League. But there's good news. The Houston Astros, the defending world champions, they're struggling. Let's take a look at what happened in the American League West last night. Justin Verlander got smacked all over the place, and the Colorado Rockies defeated the Astros 5-1. Houston has lost 9 consecutive at home. So here we are. Oakland's win over Seattle. That means the A's now trail the Astros for first place in the American League West by just 1 game. Arizona defeated Texas. The final there was 6-4. Los Angeles over the Padres in San Diego. And there are your standings, courtesy of our friends at Les Schwab. Well, the first Seahawks preseason game is also the first time that new Seattle offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer was calling the shots. He said once he found the stadium and where he was supposed to park, he liked what he saw from his first team offense.
It was good to see that group go out there, and they really did a lot of good things, that first group. They played fast, really good tempo in and out of the huddle. The ball was spread around a little bit, which was good, and I thought they did a nice job playing physical. So a lot of things to build off of moving forward in training camp. We're still in training camp mode, but it was exciting. I was proud of those guys and the job that they did.
Chris Carson and rookie Rashard Penny split time at tailback in Seattle's first game. Schottenheimer said they both looked good while they were out there.
Again, both did a really good job. Again, Rashad made a couple really good cuts where guys kind of got to the edge, and there was some free color, but some really good stuff. And then Chris just finished really well a couple times. The first drive, he had the cutback run where he kind of put his shoulder down, and that's the type of runs that we expect from him. It's those extra 2 or 3 yards that he can make after contact. So I thought they both did really, really well. Both did a good job in pass protection. And again, we just kind of keep growing with those guys.
Seattle Seahawks and the Los Angeles Chargers, I'm still getting used to that, will do battle in the second preseason game of the year for the Hawks. That will be Saturday night down in Carson City, California. It's 30 minutes after the hour. It's time for the obscure holiday of the day today. Relax. Don't do it. You got to relax every once in a while. This started out as National Slacker Day In Great Britain now it's National Relaxation Day. The number one way to relax in today's day and age in this modern world, digital detox. I highly recommend it. Don't turn on the computer. Put away your smartphone. Don't watch television. Stay away from social media. It just gets people all riled up. So you don't have to worry about checking emails or anything to fret over. And it's amazing what can happen to just your general attitude if you just unplug everything, grab a good book, and lose yourself. Relaxation Day. Relax. It's good for you. So is this show. Better than the air, I can tell you that much. 31 minutes after the hour, today in history. 104 years ago today, the SS Encon became the very first ship to pass through the Panama Canal. It opened to traffic. The Panama Canal did on this date in 1914. The tolls for the Panama Canal depends on how big your ship is, how much tonnage and cargo volume. The biggest ships, the toll, about $500,000. The smallest toll ever paid, 36 cents. Richard Halberton swam the Panama Canal in 1928, and that's what they charged him, 36 cents. Now, of course, there's a new set of locks. They opened up a couple of years ago, and so now they can make even bigger ships. The ships that are designed to go through the Panama Canal, they have their own name. It's called Panamax, which means the ships are designed and built to get through the Panama Canal. Happy birthday to the Big Ditch. Happy 79th birthday to The Wizard of Oz, one of the most iconic motion pictures ever made. The Wizard of Oz premiered at Grauman's Chinese Theater in beautiful Los Angeles, California, August 15th, 1939, opened up all over the United States over the next coming weeks. The iconic Wizard of Oz is 79 years old today. August 15th, 1962, 56 years ago today. That photo that you see is the very first photo ever taken of the Beatles with their brand new drummer. A guy by the name of Ringo Starr, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, and the rest of the Beatles fired Pete Best the day before. They drove up to see Ringo at a gig. He said, you want to join the Beatles? He said, I just got an offer. King-size Taylor will pay me 20 pounds a week to play with him. And I told him I'd do it. And John and Paul said, we'll pay you 25 pounds a week. And he said, I still don't know if I can go back on my word. And he said, oh, by the way, we have a record contract. And Ringo said, I'm in. Ringo Starr joined the Beatles. And John, Paul, and George became John, Paul, George, and Ringo 56 years ago today. And speaking of the Beatles, the very first stadium rock and roll concert ever. August 15th, 1965, Shea Stadium, Queens, New York City. 60,000 fans pack it. It was regarded as the birth of stadium rock. It's one of the most famous concerts of all time. The Beatles played for 35 minutes, and they were paid $160,000 for half an hour's worth of work. I knew I should have learned how to play the guitar. And at 33 minutes after the hour, we have birthdays. One historic birthday. I don't know what you say about Napoleon Bonaparte. Probably the most celebrated and controversial leader in human history. He's on both sides of that coin. Forever changed the course of human history, certainly in Europe. Napoleon was born in this state in 1769. They still, to this day, study his battle tactics. He only lived to the age of 51, Napoleon Bonaparte, born in the state in 1769. Happy 80th birthday to the 97th Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court, Stephen Breyer. Is 80 years old today. Happy birthday to the good justice. By the time I get to Phoenix, Wichita Lyman, Galveston, MacArthur Park, Jimmy Webb wrote all of those songs and a whole bunch more. Jimmy Webb, the great songwriter, is 72 years old today. Ben Affleck, let's see, Good Will Hunting, Argo, Armageddon, Pearl Harbor, The Accountant. He not only acts, but he's a great screenwriter. Ben Affleck is 46 years old today. And I don't know what to tell you about our favorite person. We love this guy. Look at Eric Granstrom. That's got to be his high school photo. He had hair. He's follically challenged now. There's a great month. There's Eric in his when he back in his football days. That's a great photo of. Oh, there! Look at that cute guy. That was back, of course, before the weight of the world crushed his hopes and dreams. Our beloved leader, Eric Granstrom. There he is 50 years old today. There he is. Look at that handsome son of a gun. And he's living the good life. He and Marion have a good thing going. There he is, Eric Granstrom. Happy birthday to you. I must be wrestling. Look at Eric. He's aged well. He's aged a lot better than me. The big 5-0 for EG. Way to go, my friend. Welcome to the club. Have a great birthday today. I know you will. 35 minutes after the hour. Everybody's entitled to Mike Minotti's opinion. He's going to give you something to talk about. And then Jessica Johnson and Hank from Sage on the way. You're watching Wake Up on Anchi Valley on the NCW Life channel.
Hi everyone, Brent. Hey, don't mind, we're just making a commercial here, Randall. You're okay. Hi, everyone. Brent here. You're gonna love this. When you see this, come down and see us behind Nissan. I can do it. I can do it. The all-new 2018 Nissan. That's done, I'm done. We can't do it. Come down and see us at Town Nissan behind Costco in East Wenatchee. Better performance, better...
Did you know that our pets can put on extra weight just like us? Obesity is the most common preventable disease in dogs and cats. Your pet's excess weight can lead to health issues like joint pain, arthritis, diabetes, high blood pressure, and more. Dr. Shauna Baez and the staff at Paws and Claws Veterinarian Hospital care about your pets, and they can help you keep them lean and healthy. Call Paws and Claws today at 888-PAWS or find them on the corner of 4th and Isle in East Wenatchee.
Looking for a hands-on, high-demand job? Now is the perfect time to get trained for a career in manufacturing. Washington currently has a shortage of skilled tradespeople, and retirements are making room for more. The machining program at Wenatchee Valley College is designed to give students the foundation to excel in this precision industry. Don't wait, there are only 15 spots left. A 2-year degree and a 1-year certificate are available. Learn more at wvc.edu/machining.
At Local Myth Pizza, we believe in real food, freshly prepared with only premium ingredients. Our cheeses are imported from Italy. Our sauces, dressings, and even our sausages are made in-house fresh daily. Featuring Northwest craft beers and 30 Chelan Valley wines and ciders. Family fun and amazing food. Eat local, drink local, and be local at Local Myth Pizza.
Come see why Sunset Magazine says you can't beat Local Myth Pizza.
For plumbing, heating, or cooling repair, Patriot will be right there.
Is your inefficient home comfort system wasting money? This Lennox dealer can help.
Save money on your energy bills with an efficient Lennox system from Patriot Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Call Patriot today.
Patriot Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling will give your home a hug.
Get up to $1,500 in rebates or special financing.
Walk and Roll Wenatchee's Asian Express is fast, fresh food. Wenatchee Roll's new Poke Hawaiian Fresh Salad Bar is the best. Fresh greens, fresh seafood, and handmade sauces. You know what you want. At Walk and Roll, create your own style meal. Hot off the line chicken, beef, and veggie plates. Lunch or dinner to match your appetite. Fresh sushi, hot entrees, Poke Fresh Salad Bar. It's new. It's Walk and Roll Wenatchee, fast, fresh food your way. Located on 5th and Mission.
Hey, this is Mike Mad Dog Magnotti, and everybody's entitled to my opinion. Now, you ever think about this? You have a girlfriend or a wife that sometimes you don't treat them very nice. You figure, hey, this is my private life. It's nobody's business if I'm a jerk now and then. Besides, you think the wife, the girlfriend, she's sometimes less than pleasant herself. So it's her fault if I get mad at her and call her names or something like that. Well, let me tell you. There's a good chance that someone's therapist knows all about you. I mean, you never know. If you ask any mental health professional, they'll be able to tell you that they have a client or two whose significant other has no idea they've sought therapy. I tell you, that's something that maybe you should think about. This is Mike Mad Dog Magnotti, and that's my opinion.
J&J Snack Foods makes a lot of dough-filled products. It's really hard to attract labor in this area. We've reached out to Goodwill, and Goodwill came through to help us get that achieved. John started here at the plant a couple of months ago. We promoted him to a dough maker. He's doing well.
I'm actually doing great. I'm finally getting more notice and appreciated for my work here. I love the products we make here.
If you're struggling finding the labor that you need, reach out to Goodwill. Goodwill, there's more behind the store.
Lake Chelan Mailboxes is a small place with a lot to offer. Job one is shipping and receiving from A to Z. They pack it, they label it, they ship it. But did you know we also offer notary service, online computer access, legal forms, copies, greeting cards, and of course, mailboxes. Chelan Mailboxes, Everything you need in one small package.
You don't want to see this happen. It's the oil light on your car. Oil is the lube of life for your car's engine. At Alignment Pros and Express Lube, they pour the best oil your car deserves. Expect fast, friendly, superior service in a clean environment. They'll change your oil and perform a 21-point inspection while you enjoy the comfort of their amazing waiting room. Keep your car in top shape at Alignment Pros and Express Lube in East Wenatchee.
Dear Mary Maids, just got home from a trade show and I didn't have time to pick up the house. Kids made chili. Jeff did a mud run. Oh, and Winston shredded Teddy's bed. Again, please clean it the best you can. Oh, except for the statue Max made for me. Thanks, Abby.
Hi, Abby. Clean kitchen, clean bath, clean floor, naughty cat, poor Teddy. The statue is precious. You should keep it forever. See you next time, Mary Maids.
And we are back on Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. I am Dan Koontz. Safety, advocacy, empowerment, growth empowerment. I flipped those, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
That acronym doesn't make any sense at all, does it?
No.
I'm talking about SAGE, and Jessica Johnson, who's the executive director of SAGE, has an open invitation to come by and see me whenever she wants. She's back again today. We got a lot to talk about, and she brought a friend with her. On my show today, Jessica Johnson, the executive director of SAGE, and her four-legged little friend by the name of Hank, who's right down there, taking a little nap. Hank, you want to wake up and come join us for the conversation? Pop on up here, buddy. There he is. We can see him on the overhead there.
See? Can you see? He's like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just here because I was told to be. So
tell me about Hank, why he's needed, how he came to SAGE. Tell me Hank's purpose.
So Hank's purpose is to help people who have been victimized by crime. So that can include adults, children, anybody really. Hank's focus is mainly on children. So we help do forensic interviews at our agency so that when a child comes in, that they don't have to go to the police station and deal with very tall people with guns on their hips and maybe in uniform. It's much more child friendly.
Yeah, very intimidating for children in that kind of situation.
Exactly,
yeah.
And they're talking about really, really hard stuff, and sometimes for the first time. So what we offer is for Hank to be able to come in and be in the room. So Hank and I sometimes will go in and conduct the interview where we actually ask the questions, and Hank has a specific command that's called snuggle, and he will get up on the couch and he'll snuggle with whoever. And so once that happens and the interview is recorded, then the disc gets encrypted, and hopefully the child only has to tell their story once, because then they feel less victimized. But if that they needed to go to court, if the judge says yes, you have to come in and go to court, Hank will be able to do that with us. He'll be able to walk into court with the kiddo, be put in the witness box, and then will also be there throughout the testimony, and he will be there as just a comfort to the kids.
So Hank came to you from an organization that specializes in training
yes.
dogs to do exactly what Hank does, right?
Exactly. So we were very blessed by Assistance Dogs of the Northwest. And that's what Hank thinks of it. He does that every once in a while. I call it that he's getting sassy. But they are part of Assistance Dogs of Hawaii, so they kind of broke off. Yes, and what happens is they take puppies, specifically picked puppies for their temperament, and then they train them for specific jobs. So Hank and I have been together as a couple. My husband last month, I say that, but it's really true. He's like my shadow since June 1st. And that week before, we went to team training camp. And I was telling you before that the dog already comes trained. It was more human training camp. So, but in our class, we had, Hank was there was another dog named Davis and another dog named Wesley. And Wesley was a normal service dog that you would think of, somebody who would help somebody who needed extra help, like the lady that has him has some mobility challenges. And then Davis is a dog that went to the Children's Hospital in Portland, and he visits with patients who are in pediatric ICU. So, and then Hank is our court facility dog, and he's liking to walk around and sniff out everything at the moment. So
I'm seeing some lab and some retriever here.
Yes, that's true. Yes,
okay.
He is mainly lab, but he does have a retriever mix. You can tell his coat's a little bit longer in the back, and he sheds a lot. So, but we have a daily grooming routine. There are things that we have to specifically do for Hank. We have to keep him within a certain weight range, and we also so we take walks every morning. He gets brushed, and he gets a bath. Last night we actually do what I call his spa routine, where we brush his teeth and clean his ears out and do his Dremel his nails so that they're all safe for when he's visiting with other people. So he's a really good dog. Most people don't believe that he's only 1.5 years old, and he is pretty calm. And at the moment, of course, he's decided that now he's going to be up and about. So,
and he lives, when he's not working, he lives with you in your household.
Yes. So when he's working, he has his vest on, his blue vest on, and then when he goes home at night, we take the vest off, and he knows that he's off. And then you'll see him act a little bit more like a puppy during that time. We take him, like I said, on walks. I take him different places. We have a friend that has a black lab that we go and do play dates with so that he can get exercise. And we also have another lab retriever mix at home who is 12, and so Hank has kind of helped keep Bella a little bit young. So, and Hank's just checking everything out right at the moment, so you know, it's all good.
When the kid's in the situation where they land on your radar and Hank comes in to help, what's that first initial 90 seconds like with Hank and the kids? The kids just kind of...
There's two different ways that it can go. So, and Hank's pretty good about knowing this. Either the kiddo is like way excited and they're just like, oh my gosh, it's a dog, look, there's a dog, or otherwise they're like, oh, there's a dog, you know, kind of. And so what Hank will do is if he knows that the kids like the dogs, he'll come up and he'll snuggle right away with them. And if not, you know what, he sits on the floor and then he kind of just will get closer and closer until pretty soon the kids just petting his back and, you know, rubbing on his ears and things like that. So, but for the most part, and the adults are really excited to see him too. So I went to a meeting in East Wenatchee the other day and took Hank with me, and they're like, oh, she brought Hank. And that was it. It wasn't like, hi, Jessica. It was like, oh, hi, Hank. So he usually gets most of the attention, which I'm okay with. But.
How did the folks at Sage, decide, you know, we could use a therapy dog? We could use a dog like Hank to help the kids specifically through the process? How did the decision making happen?
So I've known about this program for a couple years, but have been busy and haven't had a chance to actually go on and do some research about it. And one of the staff people and I were at another child advocacy meeting, and there were 2 other therapy dogs there, or assistance dogs there, and they did a training about it. And the gal leaned over to me and she says, why don't we have one? And I said, it's on my radar, I just haven't had the time. And she says, can I take that on? And I'm like, of course. So what everybody should know is that this placement happened really, really fast. Usually they say maybe a year, maybe 2. This all happened in 6 weeks. So we applied for the dog. The next week they did phone interviews. It's like adopting a child, basically. They came out and did a home visit to check out how our houses are, the houses that he's allowed to go to, and then also how our offices are. And then they're like, okay, we'll let you know when we have we have a dog to match you with. And then Hank, he was ready to graduate, and they placed us with him, and he's been great. So he's done several interviews and done several advocacy sessions where he goes in and hangs out with the victim, and they just are able to talk more and more with him in the room. I think it just makes them feel safe.
So Hank is already pulling his weight.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much, yeah.
Good for him. And I've had canine units on my show before, German Shepherds who, when they're not working, are all over the place. Hank has a very wonderful disposition. And to train a canine dog is $10,000 at least for a dog involved in law enforcement. What are the costs to get Hank up and running and landing on your doorstep? You know?
Well, so we were very lucky. There was a grant that provided Hank from the assistance dog. And actually, Assistance Dogs Northwest still owns Hank. He's just placed with us. And we'll continue to own him until he's ready to retire, and then we can adopt him officially. So technically, he's not our dog. If something went wrong or something like that, then they would come and check and make sure. But when I was working with Mo as one of the handlers and one of the trainers, she was telling me that it costs between $25,000 and $50,000 depending on what they're doing, what kind of training they're doing, and all dogs are put through a lot of the same training. And then when they figure out, some dogs like to work a lot, some dogs are relaxed and have just a really restful demeanor. Other dogs are like, I need to be doing something, and so that's how they kind of ascertain what they're going to do and where they're going to place them. And so Hank got placed with us because he's doing what he does right now. I mean, this is what happens. So, and he's a really good boy. I can't say how much our lives have changed, and everybody in the office loves him, and you can tell if somebody's having a bad day. They're like, can I come in and visit with Hank? So, and Hank has the bigger nameplate on our office, so I mean, really, we know who's in charge. So
let's get to some sobering stuff. First of all, how busy are you, and what's it going to take to drive Sage right out of business?
For people to be nice to each other. We are pretty busy. We are seeing people come in, and of course, not only for domestic violence, for sexual assault, for any victim that has a person for a crime, and then our Child Advocacy Center. We're averaging about 1 interview, if not 2 interviews a week. So that keeps Hank on his toes and me on my toes. But we're seeing lots of people coming in. I will say that, I was watching back in the back, the smoke does affect how many people we get through the door. Sometimes it lessens how many people are willing to come out and about, and other times people are stuck indoors, and so then bad things happen because that they're, they don't have a chance to get away from each other.
So do you have an ebb and a flow in your line of work? I mean, some times of the year are busier than others.
Well, usually I say that summer is a lull because people can be outside enjoying our wonderful weather when it isn't smoky, and there's just a lot more going on. And then there's usually a lull between Christmas and New Year's because people are playing nice because of the holidays. And then after that, it just depends. Especially, it just really depends on what's going on, how the economy is working in our valley too. I mean, there's lots of different factors that will affect how many people we see each day. So
when we talk about Sage, when most people think of abuse, domestic abuse, they think physical abuse.
Mm-hmm.
My husband is hitting me or my boyfriend is hitting me.
Right.
There are other types of abuse. There's psychological abuse and there is economic abuse, and you deal with all of those.
Yes, we do. So yes, when you talk about domestic violence, people imagine usually a woman with a black eye and a broken arm or something like that cowering in the corner. And I'm not saying that that doesn't happen. We do see our share of people who come in with physical injuries that you can see. Economic abuse is more along the lines of setting somebody up to fail, or just not allowing them to have any money so that their partner is in control of all the money. So that could look like, hey, I'm going to give you a list of things that I want you to go get at the store. Here's the amount of money. And the list might be all of brand names, so like Nally's chili, Lay's potato chips, things like that. But the money will not cover for all the brand names. So the victim goes to the store and they have a decision to make. Do they buy brand names and only get part of it, or do they buy generic and cheaper names and get all of it? It doesn't matter what they do, they've been set up that it's not going to be right. So that happens. We've seen people who have had to ask for toilet paper every time they needed to use the restroom, or just not been able to go to the doctors because they might have some special need that they need to have taken care of.
We're running out of time. There's a couple of questions I want to ask
Sure.
you while you're here. The Me Too movement is now a couple of years old. Has that, obviously that has affected your day-to-day life. Are you having the feeling that more women are feeling more empowered to say, you know what, I'm done with this, and I want to get this taken care of. I want to get out of this dead-end relationship, and I want to get my kids out of this. And are you feeling an uptick at Sage because of the Me Too movement?
I think a little. I will say that people are usually more brave behind their computer screens and behind their electronics. I think that it's been really wonderful to have the Me Too movement because it's given a chance for people to have a voice who have experienced violence. I don't know that I could say that, oh, people have been coming in more and more because of the Me Too movement, but I do think that it's made communities aware of what is happening in their communities.
There is an opioid crisis in this country. There's an opioid crisis in this area. What kind of a role is that going on in the last couple of years in your line of work?
So we always say drugs and alcohol don't cause domestic violence, but it can escalate domestic violence. I also always tell people that if somebody can hit you when they're high or drunk, they can also hit you when they're sober. It just lowers the inhibitions a little bit. So, and what we know about domestic violence is that it starts off low, maybe name calling, things like that, and it escalates. So, you know, opioid abuse, alcohol abuse, all of that is something that will escalate it faster.
And maybe the most sobering number of all, I did some downloads from the Centers for Disease Control, and I wish we had more time. The estimated amount of people who are going through domestic violence of whatever nature that is never reported, they never escape the vicious cycle, is alarming.
Right, right. And it's because nobody wants to talk about it. I mean, quite honestly, I always tease people that we go out and we talk about the hard stuff because we can't talk about unicorns and puppies and kitties. Well, now we can talk about puppies, but they don't want to share with it. It's a secret. They don't want people to know that they failed either in their marriage or their relationship. They're afraid that people won't believe them, depending on who their partner is and what their status is in the community. They're afraid that that people are going to look at them different, that it's going to cause a stigma. So it's really important for people to be able to be there for people that they know. If you see some red flags, to ask people if they're okay, and keep asking in a gentle way, not being like obnoxious about it, but in a gentle, persistent way. And then realize that the victim is usually the person who knows when they are ready to leave and when the best time it is for them to leave. Because another thing that we know about is that once a person decides to leave and makes that decision and actually leaves the house, it becomes more dangerous for that victim, up to 75% more dangerous. So that's one of the reasons why we have an undisclosed shelter location, so that we can house victims of domestic violence for up to 90 days.
We got about 2 minutes left. You got some things that you brought with us.
Sure.
Let's talk about what you got coming up.
Okay, so September 29th, I believe that's the last Saturday in September, we're having a 5K to support our Child Advocacy Center. You can go on our website and check it out. It's going to be a fun run and walk, a family event, but of course if people want to come out and just help, come meet Hank, we'll be there. That's going to be at Pybus Market, and you can register through our website, which is www.findsafety.org. And then the last weekend in October, we're having a Monster Bash. This is the second year that we've done that, where we'll have a bouncy castle and we'll have trunk or treat. It's during the day, so if you've got little kids, you can almost tell them, hey, this is Halloween, we're going to go do it this way. It was a lot of fun last year. We won't turn anybody away. We are asking for a $5 donation if people can afford it, but we would never turn anyone away.
And for those people who don't run or are not interested in the spook thing, they just want to give Sage a helping hand, whatever the case may be, a donation or just whatever. What do they do?
Call the office, 509-663-7446. We'd be happy to help you do that. We are always looking for volunteers to sit on our board. We're looking for people who are willing to do our crisis line, our 24-hour-a-day crisis line. If you'd like to give money, of course, we would accept that too. We have a diaper closet, we have donations, clothing closet, things like that that if you are getting rid of stuff, that you can think of us and just give us a call.
It's always a pleasure to see you.
Well, thank you.
And again, I want everybody to do everything they can possibly do to get Jessica unemployed.
Yes, please.
Hank, buddy, we got to go. Say goodbye to everybody, Hank. There he is. Everybody have yourself a great Wednesday. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.